Hello, I want to talk about schizophrenia again and some of the thoughts that I've been having about this particular thing. Uh, I realized when I was watching the Ask Reddit video about schizophrenia that a lot of these people started with healthy, good voices that then devolved into unhealthy voices and then devolved into demons. Now, a lot of these people explained how they had, like, say for example, a bad childhood, a difficult time growing up, and they would imagine a voice that would help them be their companion, talk with them, get them through the tough spots, and then later that voice would evolve into a menacing voice and then into a fully demonic voice. And it got me thinking that I've had friendly voices that slowly turn adult in the same way that these people had. And I feel what you, as a schizophrenic, may be experiencing. By the way, I've seen the clock go backward a few times now, so there's some kind of spiritual work going on. Now, what you might be experiencing as a schizophrenic is an unwanted pregnancy, because these got me thinking that you have a good supportive voice with you, and then perhaps a decade later, when that voice hits puberty, you get a really tough time. Then for a few times, perhaps a few years, you have a really tough time with the voice, and then you get on medication and you improve. Now, I'm not downplaying medication. I absolutely know how critically valuable it is that we develop and use good schizophrenic medications. It is beyond belief valuable. But to me, it seems like you're expecting a spirit to always be your friend. And that's not how it goes. Your child isn't your friend. That's why you can't befriend it in the same way that you would another person's child or another person or anybody else's dog. Now, the thing is that you are purchasing time that is pleasant now by accepting that the creature you're purchasing it from won't always be pleasant to you. So you get the occasional nasty vibe, you get the occasional good vibe, and the creature goes back and forth between its mindset towards you. Now, for me, what has probably helped the most is being able to view this thing from the point of view of a state. Understanding that these aren't random noises, they aren't random voices, they are the internal organs, even if they aren't specifically like your kidney talking to you or your liver talking to you. They are still, in the very visceral sense, the internal talking organs. And that means they need representation. They need a method of ensuring that you can't encroach on them too much and that they can't accidentally bump you into death, because they still need you in a way to live. And that has helped me significantly, but it has brought the hallucinations from being abstract things with no physical mass into real world things, in that if I hallucinate a very hostile scenario and wake up the next morning, there will almost invariably be some damage on me physically that I will notice that is very apparent, like having chipped a tooth, if I strongly do violent things in my hallucinations. So, what I'm thinking that we're seeing here is kind of an inability to understand the mindset of the new one, because a lot of these guys start with a good spirit and end with a bad spirit. And it reminds me of raising a child. A lot of you start with an angel and you turn it into a demon. So that's what I'm thinking about. It is from the hallucinations I get, I think I'm starting to see what the doctors and you guys think is the one causing the hallucinations, which I think are positive, the spiritual work, the spiritual abilities. And it is a young boy, I think. You are concerned that it is a young boy messing with me, that it is the troll messing with me, that I am being led astray by the young one. And that is anti-typical or perhaps prototypical of Christianity. You think that I am being led astray by the dark one, that eventually it'll just turn out to be some young punk making fun of me with some weird power. And I'm like, oh no, I've completely bought into your illusion. But it isn't that simple. It is one of the most effective ways that violence is contributed or committed on this world is to take on the mantle of the child. That is why, in my view, when I look at two adults shooting bullets at each other, I am almost always seeing somebody trying to make somebody else into a parent for their own worser impulses. Basically saying, take care of this, take care of this, take care of this. That's what I see. Now, my first hallucination was probably when I was at my second apartment. I was maybe 7 at the time, perhaps even younger. And when I was having trouble sleeping, I would see this eye floating at the corner of my room, and it just felt calm. And I instantly worried that I'm getting some kind of schizophrenia. I was like 7 and I was worried about schizophrenia, so keep that in mind. I was literally worried that I was going out of my mind, and I immediately told my mother, who calmed me and said that it's probably one of those normal childhood imagination things. And I saw it quite often, but not very often, when I was feeling worried or upset. And I even draw it on a paper, and it was the stereotypical Eye of Ra. I had never seen the Eye of Ra symbol anywhere, as far as I am aware, and that is the symbol that I draw for what it looked like. In adulthood, in my spiritual studies, I realized that that was probably my main spirit guide, who, by the way, is a good chap, but under tremendous pressure. I don't know how those guys handle it. I just don't know. Maybe one day I'll know. And that was my first hallucination. Then, when I started to have recurring nightmares that were like really deep nightmares, I started to become afraid of mirrors. But that was because I felt like mirrors reminded me that every time you see yourself, you are seeing somebody else. It's just a matter of degrees. When you look at a mirror, you normally see yourself, but I see myself when I look at another person. I see what I have done, how I live as that person. I see empathy when I look at another person. So when I look at a mirror and I start to feel empathy for the mirror reflection starts to feel weirded out by my empathy. They start to feel it feels like they go like, no, 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 this isn't what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to look at yourself in the mirror. It's supposed to be truly reflective, not feel empathy for the rock that was turned into a mirror. You're not supposed to feel that. Then I got some pretty severe hallucinations. I have an episode which I still don't know if it's real, but I have a memory of pushing my mother down the stairs, and then the memory just ends. And normally, if something serious like that happens, there would be ambulances, there would be a whole long thing. But for me, I just have a memory of pushing my mother down the stairs, and I have a deep, distinct feeling like she died. I know she didn't, but I have this feeling like she did. And as a result of that, I have kind of like a feeling that my mother isn't my real mother, but I realize that this is as hallucinatory as a hallucination gets. I mean, really, did he remarry and hide the corpse? Like, seriously now? And there are things which are of similar spiritual uncertainty or similar spiritual nature that point to there being hallucinations that are not always good in my childhood. But overall, the hallucinations I get tend to be environmental in that they are clearly some form of thing in my environment that I'm reacting to. Like living in the homeless shelter, I hear a lot of fights in the middle of the night. And when I really tune into it, I start getting a feeling where it's difficult to differentiate if the voice is external or internal, meaning that my energies are contributing to the fight. It doesn't mean that just because you see the fight turning into being an internal for one of them doesn't mean that it's completely internal for one of them, meaning that all the components are just that one guy. It's usually much more complex than that, meaning that when somebody hallucinates a conflict, it isn't in as much about just them hallucinating, but what is the community doing in response to that hallucination? Are they trying to placate him, trying to calm him down? Are they trying to edge him on? Are they doing what exactly? And that is the important thing about these hallucinations, because if if your community is supportive, if you feel like fine, you're hearing somebody argue in the middle of the night, which by the way, hallucination always. And you're, yes, always, even when you're at home and you live in the suburbs and somebody fights next door and you hear it, it's a hallucination. You trust me, I'm a schizophrenic, I know. You're supposed to live in a world of perfection with no problems, always being happy. If you don't have that, you have some kind of mental problem. Believe me, that's what they say you. That's what they say to you. If you are not completely content with your life, with perhaps a periodic slashing of uncomfortable emotions, you are ill. If you are one of those people who frequently has discomfort in their life and the discomfort takes the same shape and the shape seems to stay from moving place to place, you have a mental problem. It's very important to understand. My problem is that I'm religious, and for many the problem is that they like to hallucinate fights. So that is about it in the short of it. And I don't think that my schizophrenic nature, the way I run things, is in and of itself bad, or that the view that everybody should be content with their life at all times is in as much good. But I understand that these are the ideas our current society is going for. And as you can see from my artwork, I'm not a person who always enjoys the light. I occasionally like the dark side of things. For me, this is pleasant condition. but I can understand that a lot of people wouldn't have it that way. And if I could take an injection every 3 months, that would make me zonked out and happy for the remainder of 3 months, perhaps. But now I will do the last thing I uh, wanted to do for this schizophrenic step. I want to see if my psychers have anything to say uh, to the schizophrenic community, or rather the schizophrenia doctors. So this is from my favorite psycher, and I will pick the first pile. Schizophrenic, schizophrenic, high functioning, high functioning. First pile, like I said. Hmm. So communication, overthinking, play for the doctor, which all I would agree with. Anybody who's a doctor who doesn't understand spirituality in some form and this whole procedure and is still a psychiatric doctor specializing in schizophrenia needs to play often. You too, to you too. I agree completely. Random car in the street. Ooh, I mean, I've sought for this state, this communion where I talk with you, a car randomly honks its horn on the street, and I feel the connection of what it has to do with our talk. I've aimed for that understanding or thought or ability or what have you for a long time, and I just I don't know why it should be medicated away if it's something that I've aimed for. I mean, are we that against religion? Are we that atheist that we want to medicate somebody's religion away? I mean, the parts that bother me, I would accept some medication for. I would, for example, appreciate having an anti-anxiety med at home that I can randomly take. That's about it. So yeah, this was a fun talk on schizophrenia. Thank you for watching.